of them.
Yeah.
And it's these other kids doing it, teenagers doing it, and adults in criminal networks in these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know why? You know why, Shaun, and I'm cutting you off, apologies, but you know why they're doing this? Because children can't be prosecuted. So you see the method and the madness. Children
Yes.
can't be prosecuted. So these groups and these they're not human really to me, but these animals or predators know exactly what they're doing. And this grows bigger and bigger, and they're very manipulative. And as you and I know, children don't have, and young people don't have the cognition to discern what is real and what is not sometimes. And of course, if they're using children or other teenagers to share or get these images across and pretend to be a boyfriend or a girlfriend, there's what chance do the children have? So it's pretty big. And you're right, the young, the boys especially, they're doing their lives because they feel hopeless. That what do they do with it? They you know, they're shamed, and they can't go to family because they feel they're going to be, you know, in trouble for doing that. And you know, it's just horrendous.
So with the extortion side of it, there's a huge financial incentive. But
Yeah.
with Cult 764, are they monetizing this activity? Are they profiting from it somehow?
Yes, they are, and partly because what they can do with that live stream is get people to pay to view, if you like, if you think of it that way. So it's clickbait stuff. So it's in the dark web, obviously, but also keep in mind this is not just about, and you described the extortion with an S. It's not just about the money. It's also, you know, the ability to share the images or videos makes them much more palatable or popular in the predator world, in this whole, you know, likes children world. So I think that's really important to consider now as well, because yes, the money can come through the extortion, but equally the imaging and what then happens with child on child, or you know, the fact that images are being displayed means there's money to be made as well on that. And we do know, I don't know if you knew this, and again, I'm cutting you off because that's my superpower, that, you know, up to 85% of adults who view this type of activity go on to become contact offenders. So they go on to abuse a child in that way. So this is not innocent viewing, Shaun. This becomes a gateway into, I'm now looking for a child to act out on.
It's extremely disturbed viewing. So if you've got a question for Gloria, please put them in the chat. And here's Gloria's website. I've just put that in the chat, and it's in the description box. So the first question is from the Trackmaster Man. I read somewhere kids are doing this over TikTok now. Is this being a new phase? Is it like a new wave of something?
Short answer is I'm not sure. Measured response, I believe it will be. TikTok tends to pick up on these things and run with them. So some of these platforms, as we all know, are making money out of any and all content. And it's still no surprise to me that Pornhub have children as young as 10 being able to view. So if that gives any indication at all about the care and protection of children, I don't know what else does. But that is a known fact. Children as young as 10 are able to access and view material on Pornhub.
That's insane. Wow. So Katz, do you feel that school education is slow to react and catch up to educate us parents, the teachers and children, more about these sadistic cults online?
Yes, 100% agree. And I say that because for many years, people like me across the world have been trying, including Shaun, to get the message out that there's things going on that we need to be aware of as safe adults and educators. And I think education, partly, I'll give them a little bit of a hall pass here, partly because this is so shocking. Most good people have what we call cognitive dissonance, which means they turn away because it doesn't align with their values, morals, or ethics. And it's too hard to accept that this an adult could actually want to or encourage this type of activity. So we turn away as good, safe adults because it doesn't align with us. But unfortunately, that's where the loophole is, and that's where more of this predation and sickness occurs. So yes, school education is slow. So having said that, there is a book to address this written by myself called Keeping Kids Safe. It's available on Amazon, and it is to educate, and it is to inform and give parents and teachers an idea of what to do.
Do you think that because the school system is directed from politicians and people at the top of society, and there are so many predators within that strata, do you think that that's why, you know, the kids, it's like they don't want to educate them on this stuff. They want to disturb their minds with other things that I won't mention that have been introduced to the curriculum?
Yeah. I look, and I think there's, I can't disagree with you. You know, who's leading the charge here, and we know it goes right to the top. So for instance, you and I are going to talk about another group called 2x2s who are also global. Now, one of our National Party MPs is linked to that here in New Zealand. So this stuff goes to the top of the tree, and we know that things can get blocked. We know that things, although there are good people everywhere in all levels, as there are those who choose to offend, unfortunately, it seems there's not much interest in stopping this.
The justice system here in the UK is completely upside down. The grooming gangs are getting away with all kinds of horrific stuff. We've interviewed several survivors. Keir Starmer, our leader, has voted against investigating them, hence enabling the perpetuation of that horrific, of those horrific crimes. I mean, we've interviewed cops, and there's some well-meaning cops out there, but the orders come down from the top.
Yes.
And they've got to do all this revenue generation stuff, and they're arresting people for Facebook posts and all this other ridiculous stuff. All the resources that could be taken to go after the predators have been co-opted and employed elsewhere for the vested interest. And it's sickening. Yes. Is it the same in your country?
Yes, yeah, definitely. So, you know, we will always bang the drum and always try and bring attention to this, but it's not palatable. And it's not seemly, and it's not what good citizens want to be hearing or reading or absorbing over breakfast. So therefore, it doesn't get discussed. But unfortunately, the impact means that we have children and young people who are not only being seriously abused, but taking their own lives or threatening to as a result. And I'll give you a statistic here. In recent times, over 90% of boys between 14 and 15 that took their own lives in our country had this abuse at their core. So CSA underpinned their story.
Do you think because technology is advancing so fast, there's a gap between the authorities' ability and the education system to catch up, which gives the criminals an edge? Because, for example, you know, we talked about they've got young people in call centers in certain countries doing this lover boy stuff and extorting kids. But now you could just have AI do it. That's how
Yeah.
fast things are advancing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's we're well behind the eight ball. We haven't seen anything yet, unfortunately. This is just moving at a rate of knots, and we know with the advent of AI and the ability to remove clothing off children. So again, parents, be careful what you post, because you're posting a beautiful image of you with your child or grandchild. AI has the ability to take that image, remove the clothing, and trade that.
Oh, that's something that you don't want to think about. Bloody hell.
I know. So,
all right, you got a lot of questions coming, but we'll get to them, and please keep the questions coming in. But let's go over to 2x2. That's another entity that I'd never heard about.
let me introduce you.
Yes, please.
So 2x2s, they're known globally, as I said, but they're known as the Truth and the Way. They're an international, they were a home-based Christian group founded well over 100 years ago, 200 years ago. The church group, the growth was rapid, but what they do is they have home-based church groups, and the leaders go around homes and live off people, basically. But there's now more and more investigation and allegations of sexual abuse amongst people who are now the adults who were children back then. And we have many that have come forward in New Zealand. So it's grown wings. It is very much the old-fashioned evangelistic, but controlled by one person, the demigod, the cult type following, who decides what, when, how, where, and who, and children are just part of that, and again become a commodity, and again become used and abused. So this is being exposed again. FBI got hold of it, found links. It is in the UK as well, Shaun. So you will have survivors there watching as well. But this is everywhere. This is not a new group, but it's just more. I think the good news is, for our survivor community, more people are feeling comfortable or more likely to step forward now. So this is again where we have to acknowledge Virginia Giuffre and others who find the courage to step forward, because without people who are prepared to do so, we remain a silent force. So we just need to honour all survivors of all of these cult groups. They're everywhere. They're unfortunately, we have to accept that our next door neighbours may be related to people or part of, because the numbers are so big. We can't get away from it, unfortunately.
So what strategies does 2x2 employ?
Well, because they're an evangelistic, very old school church group, think women weren't allowed to speak, basically, and children were to be seen and not heard. It's that very old fashioned, very the man is king and at, the right hand of God sort of thing. So it's very much do what I say. And because of that, everyone, it's to me, it's a form of modern slavery. And that includes the trafficking, human transportation as well, including all the variables of that. And of course, children, when you consider children, they have no voice. They need us to have a voice for them. But that is how it's aligned with other groups like this who decide they're going to rule the world and everyone will fit in, and if we can get away with abusing children, then let's do that too. It's children are just not respected or valued at all, which is, as you know, why I do the work I do.
So have they got some kind of leader, some charismatic cult person?
Yes. Oh, 100%. They did, and then of course that spread out across the globe. So as I say, we have a national MP here in New Zealand who was linked to this, and I think more and more will come out about this. Shaun, I've been in discussion with a survivor of 2x2s who knows other people, and yeah, I'm keen to have further discussions with them. As you can appreciate, this is mind control, this is conditioning, this is indoctrination, and so for these people to even find the courage to speak against when they've had decades of conditioning is very, very courageous, and yeah, big.
Well, if you know any survivors that have got the courage to come on, let us know. We would be glad to
Yeah, okay.
let them tell the stories here. So
Okay.
I've been watching quite a few videos recently about the predators in foreign aid organizations, United Nations, etc., versus predators in under the cloak of religion.
Yes.
Which one do you think has got the bigger rings?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think in terms of being at the borders or being with those groups that supposedly save the children or World Vision, where we have these groups, of course they're targeted. It's a little like if you consider the schools or sports where we have coaches and teachers. They're in their own playground, if you like. And I think that it's much easier for them to get the numbers because they're right there on the ground. In terms of what's bigger, I don't know, because there's so much now that's shared digitally, and it's almost I can imagine a call to come and look at this, or if you're around, be at this side or volunteer here. I mean, that I don't even want to get into that mindset, but you follow my thinking. I think where there's opportunity, there's people that take advantage, and as you said before, it's not just about the what's going on and the money being made. It's also about being able to share the material. So I think it's really important. It's just time for the world to wake up. And I know people have been saying this for years, but can I say, as a survivor of a lot of this myself, at what point will it be in my lifetime that this will ever be really addressed? That would be something.
You think there should be nothing more important than child safety to the government, and it's just not the case. And one of the videos I was watching about these foreign aid organizations, the guy said that in some countries where people are starving to death because of war and stuff, the family will come to the aid workers and they have to get food or the whole family's going to die. And the aid workers will tell the family, give us one of your kids, or they won't let them in. And then the mum will basically have to make a decision and say, this is the guy's words, not mine. He said that the mum would have to say to one of the kids, say they had a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, she say to the 12-year-old, you're going to have to take one for the team, basically. Otherwise, we're going to die. And he also mentioned that there was a case where, I think it was the United Nations, where they were doing that. And then they were taking the girls and they had them all chained up in a nightclub. And they were just using them around the clock.
Yeah.
While, and unfortunately, these organizations attract these monsters because these monsters know they'll have access to kids like this that are in desperate war-torn countries, and they'll be able to get away with anything they want because there's nobody supervising them. They're supposed to be upholding the law and protecting people.
Yeah. And look, unfortunately, this is what this sickness does. It just, this is entitlement. This is I can, so I will. This is I don't know. It's like I liken it to the use of green or yellow, as you like to say, or brown. The more addiction there is, the higher the hit, the more uh, people seem to want. But the reality is, these are our beautiful, innocent children, and they're such a gift. And I really believe, and I will always stand strongly for children, and believe that if we could save even one child, wouldn't that be something? So it's about conversations like this. It's about actually saying, it's a call to all the safe adults out there, because we have to recognize that even people watching this, not everyone is a safe pair of hands. We just have to be aware of that. So for all the safe adults, start to notice what you see around you. We may not be able to get to the war-torn countries and borders, but we can look down our own street and within our own schools, and the numbers suggest that this is everywhere. So we need to be mindful.
I'll just read a couple of comments that have come in. This is Rocky Mountain. If each of your amazing subscribers could buy Gloria's book and get it to a school, a local school, imagine how many children might get seen and heard. I got one for the school my grandson went to.
Wow. Thank you.
And then Kat says, hypocritical, isn't it? How can they claim to discredit mothers in the UK, stating they cannot look after children, but essentially they do not care about them? It is about control and power. They are sadists. Yes, Kat, they will snatch your kid in a heartbeat, saying you're not taking care of the kid, and then they'll put it in some care place. Well, all kinds of horrors are going to happen.
Yeah. And I think we have to be, mindful too, that people are using whatever they can to gain access to children. And, to me, out of the 4 groups that are groomed, and I'm talking children, I'm talking parents, I'm talking community, and I'm talking kind of the whole system, really, in terms of media across the globe. The group, to me, that is the biggest target group is not the children, it's the parents. Because the parents have the gateway. They are the ones that usually allow the access. So I'm talking for the up to 1 in 3 children across the globe that are CSA'd, right? It's the parents that say, yes, my kid can go and have that sleepover, or yes, thank you so much for taking an interest. He or she would really benefit from having extra maths tuition with you. I think it's that group that are targeted, and because we are conditioned to be respectful, polite, etc., we don't always heed our instinct, which is, why does he want to keep spending time and just highlighting my 10-year-old? Why not the other kids? Or why are we never allowed to be part of it? Why is it just the children that they always want to take with them? And it's that simple, Shaun. If I could give your viewers some practical tips here. It's that simple. We need to be aware that not everyone has the right intent, that it is on us as the parents and safe adults to keep our eyes open. You guys will all have seen this hand sign by now, and that is children under 16 indicating when they're being abused and not safe. And it's up to us to actually start to notice that and to see when children are not safe. And children don't speak. They won't, but they will always show us through behaviour. So as parents, what we do is we start to notice behaviour. If something feels off, it is. And as a parent yourself now, Shaun, you'll get this. You don't need to wonder what's up with your child. Your child shows you. They show you so clearly. And as parents, we are the experts on our children. not the teachers, not the people above, not the ones leading the country. We as the parents are the experts, so we've got to start to use our intuition and our innate understanding and wisdom about our children and read what they are showing us, because they are being conditioned as well to do what the adult they're with says, to respect what they say, to behave. What parent out there doesn't say behave, do what you're told? And of course, that's all fertile ground then for the person that wants to CSA to go right ahead, because that child's not going to speak, because then they are either groomed or manipulated to never speak. So I think we need to take this a step further. This horror's happening. We can't stop the horror, but guess what we can do? We can help educate our safe adults and our children. And here's a little known fact for you and the viewers. In a recent study in Queensland, Australia, 86% of predators who are behind bars were asked why they didn't abuse a child they could have. So this is as they're going through what they have done. And there was some children that they didn't take advantage of. 86% of those predators said the following: I didn't because the child put up so much resistance and told me I was wrong and told me it was wrong. Now, if that isn't a call to parents and educators to understand that body safety rules and teaching children about how to protect themselves in terms of my body's my own, I'm the only one that touches it. All of these things are really useful tools for children to have. If 86% of those predators chose not to abuse a child because the child put up so much resistance about it, then we've got a little bit of an opportunity here to take this education further. And that's why I put the book in schools in every country in New Zealand through an offshore donor. Please.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good to know. I think you've just prevented some things from happening there, Gloria, because even with baby Ziggy now, he's just barely saying his alphabet, his numbers, but I can tell we're so tuned in to if there's something wrong with him, if he needs his nappy changing or anything, we can just tell right away.
Yes.
But yeah, educating him. And then you mentioned, parents, and I think one of the most egregious things I ever saw regarding this was on Netflix. It was a documentary whereby the little girl was taken and she woke up and she thought she was in a spaceship. And this recording came from the predator saying that you need to reproduce with me and all this stuff. But that predator, this went on and on because that predator seduced both of the parents, did sexual things with them individually, and they just completely enabled the continuation of these crimes. And it was just mind-blowing to see the parents just not have any safeguarding, not have the walls up to do something to protect the kid.
Well, and thank you. And I know what you're talking about. I've seen that, and I think too some really important points out of that. These parents are people. So if there's issues in the marriage, for instance, and someone comes along who's pretending to be a mate or trying to be a mate, when you're feeling vulnerable or things aren't going that well in the marital home, it's easy to feel flattered, or it's easy to feel, oh, here's someone I can talk to. And what you're encapsulating this as without realizing is grooming. So both the parents, what he did was separate them, divide and rule, and then targeted, groomed, manipulated. So the access to the child became so easy. And I'm just saying to all you amazing parents out there, because we do our best, all you amazing parents out there, please, if something feels too good to be true, it is. And if your child is showing you, turn off what they say and start reading the behavior, because they'll be showing you something's up. I think it's really important that we collectively stand united, the more of us there are, that stand beside and advocate for our amazing children and what a gift they are, the less likely these predators are of being able to abuse. And if 86% of these predators said, I did not abuse that child because the resistance was too big, that child knew what I was going to do and knew it was wrong.
So Kakariki's got a question. How do we expose these people here in New Zealand and further afield?
Well, if you know who they are, there's a little bit of an opportunity right there to name. But equally, you need to protect yourself as well. I just think it's more about how can we expose without getting information, because unfortunately, legally, we know that the burden of proof has to be met, and that means